Hi, I'm Reso. Welcome to my studio in North London. Today I'm going to be showing you how I go about programming breaks and chopping them up and making it sound jungly. So first off, I just have to arbitrarily pick some breaks, essentially. So I've just picked 4. This one. You know, I like that one because it's got the grace notes in it, so that'll be good for doing the kind of jungly snare stuff. This one. You know, I like that snare. That'll be good for kind of affecting later. Like you could just distort that snare and pitch it up and down and kind of do some really creative effects with it. This one. You know, again, more nice grace note stuff. Sort of a slightly tighter kick, so it'll kind of, I don't know, juxtapose with the first one a bit. And then this one. Because that's fucking fat. And it's got a ride in it, so that's good. Right, so this is a very kind of labour intensive process, I find. So I'm going to start off first, taking this thing. Now, there is a way you could do this. If I take, you know, I'm just going to like chop it there. Now, with Logic, you can go convert to new sampler track, analysing. Now it asks you where do you want to convert, transient markers or regions. I always go transient marker because you want it to, you know, do it at the transients. So you can say okay, and there it will have done it. And that kind of looks okay, but you can hear those little kind of pops. Not too bad. It's not actually not done that too bad, but I tend to do it like the old school missions way, just going in and chopping it up manually so I can get in and I can see, you know, just before where the transient starts. And it's very long. Now, you only need to kind of chop out, because this break just loops around. So that's kind of saving me a bit of time because I only really need, what have we got here? That's it, that's the loop there really. It's kind of a unnecessarily long file. Chop that, get rid of that. Right, go through. Having fun, guys. Oh, come on, Logic, you twat.
So I mean, have you found any software yet that does this automatically well enough that you're happy with it?
I used to use Recycle to do this, but and that was quite good. But I don't know. Before that, I used to use Cool Edit. God, what's that called? I can't even know. Was that Audition now, isn't it? Oh, I can't even remember. But I just find, I don't know, it's a weird, maybe it's like a little OCD thing on my part, but I just want to be able to get in there, look at the waveform, chop it up where I know it starts just before the correct bit of the transient, and you know, I've got control over it. And it's kind of, it's just labor intensive. There's no quick way of doing it. Like you could use a program like that. You know, this break is not the greatest example in the sense that they're cut by transient marker thing in Logic. Actually did it quite well, but some breaks, you know, depending on how compressed it is or whatever the way, like that's quite a clean waveform, you know. But on this one, I guarantee you, it would start chopping it in all kind of in between these weird, you know, it would start trying to chop it like in the middle of like a peak or whatever. It would come out weird. So I don't trust an algorithm to do something I know. Just if I spend a little bit more time doing, I can do it and get it how it needs to be, and it's cleaner, and I haven't got to go back and mess around with it later. And then once you've chopped this break up once, you save it, and you've got that break forevermore in whether you save it in Battery or ES624 or Contact or whatever, however you want to set it up. So once I've done that, I always just go lazy, create new software instrument. Depending on how I'm feeling, I'm just going to do it ES624 today. So I go multi-output ES624, edit. Pretty sure you just drag it in like that. Yeah, contiguous zone, start at C1, bam. There you go. Now, I don't like it when it one shots, so I always take it off of one shot. Leave the pitch on. View, sample. So just if I haven't. Oh, cheeky pop. Alright, sounds good. Hold on, just turn that up. You can always cheat and do the fade. There you go. Good. Clean, right. So then I go back through, be like, right, because that's a kick, output 3 and 4. Kick again, 3 and 4. Snare, 5 and 6. Hat, main. Snare, 5 and 6. Kick, 3 and 4. Snare, 5 and 6. Kick, 3 and 4. Snare, 5 and 6. Hat, main. Good, right. Save as, however you want to name something. I don't know, what's this? Drum Crazy 14. There you go. Save the break. Okay, so got that. I'll usually keep the break in as well, just because it's good to have the ability to mess with that sound as well and start messing around with like you can do more stuff in audio than you can do in MIDI. It's kind of doing a combination of the two. I'll try and do a bit of that. So from there, got, make a new, create MIDI region, and I'll just quickly. So I always put everything on the red as well, like 427 velocity on MIDI. And it's literally just a case now of like, right, what kind of beat do I want? So I'm thinking like, classic sort of jungly beat. That's it. So I think, right, program that. Find where the different, where's my hi-hat sound? If there was one, there we go. Where's the cheeky grace note? That's not right. Alright, so that sounds kind of nice. So paste that over, go like that, bosh, bosh. Right, from this point, I will now go to my environment and find where's my instrument. So because it's multi-out in Logic, you just go bosh, 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 make as many outs as you need, and they all come out. Now this is where you can start sort of being creative with it a little bit. How do you want it to sound? Like, there's a lot of air on this break. You can hear that. So a good thing is like messing around with, the decay time. That's just made it sound pretty tight already. Turn up the drive a little bit, give it some funk. Resonance up a little bit. Now, I would usually just do this. Again, put them down a bus. Now, that is a peaky snare. So there's two ways around this. Generally, you can just whack any kind of distortion or transient shape. If you turn the drive up a little bit, see, it just cuts it. There's no real discernible, you know, it's not made any kind of difference to the sound, but it's just looking at a level. Like, you shouldn't really look at levels, but seeing red annoys me. And it's just, again, it's like a weird little OCD thing. It's like, no red. Like, I know some people love to peak the granny out of everything, but I try and keep it, you know, kind of clean. So that sounds kind of tight. Again, I find tuning drums is quite important, depending on how, sort of what key you want to do the tuning. Like, as I'm just starting, this is all open to change, but I quite, because it's a jungly sort of beat, I want it to maybe be a bit tighter. So like pitch it up 2 semitones, you know. It sounds sort of crispy and tight, and I like little kind of piccolo snares. It makes it sound a bit more like that. Now, at this point, if you send a copy of everything to, I'll do it on bus 1. It's an arbitrary choice what bus it is really, but bus 1's free. So there's a copy of that going down there. I really like this FabFilter Pro C compressor because it's simple enough. Drums, parallel compression, simples, you know. I'll take the dry off. You can just hear it doing that kind of, just working it. Ooh. It just sounds kind of crunchy. It's like got that sort of compressed sound. You know, just kind of sort of thickening it up a little bit. At this point, you can start sort of messing with a bit of EQ. I'll generally, just as a matter of course, I'll just take, you know, up to like 40 off the kick and smash one on the snare. Wash that off. Quickly turn on the analyzer. Maximum. So you can see where the kind of, you know, where the punch of that snare is. You know, a bit much. Work it down a bit. And I'll try and take as much low out of the snare to kind of get rid of the air of it and the with a break, because it's obviously it's not individual hits, it's kind of, it's taken from a whole recording, so it all, you're going to have low bits in the snare, you're going to have tails off of like the end of the kick drum or a certain, or whatever is going on. So it's good to just try and take as much out of the sound as you can without it being detrimental to the sound, or at least that's what I try to do. So do the same with the kick. Where are we? Do it with the hi-hat tool. Bosh, you can take loads off the hi-hat. Now, also what I would do here is I'll bus together both the kind of the sort of dry out and the parallel compressed one. So they're both coming out of bus 11. Now here's where you can sort of be a bit creative. I like smashing the sausage fattener and stuff because it's. But that I want a crunchy break, and I love his little face. You know, you just sort of bring it back a bit, but it's just kind of. And then, again, it's sort of an arbitrary choice, but like you could put the Logic enveloper and stuff. Just trying to make it sort of as tight, as clean as possible, you know. Now, cheeky bit of reverb. Put it on everything. Turn it up a tickle. Solo the reverb. Like Space Designer, I quite like the sort of small to medium, like a room or play. I'll just use a preset because they sound so good anyway. Live chamber, what's that sound like? You know, sounds all right. That's a start. It's like, right, now got to do that 4 times or 3 more times with whatever else breaks you've got, however many. So, you know, that one's good. Mute that. On to break numero 2. I've just repeated the same process again for the second break, and you know, open the 624, put the stuff in, figure out assigning the kicks and the snares and the hats and whatever part of the break to whichever channel it needs to be on a new auxiliary. So put that there, put that there. New MIDI region. So first I'll just program something quickly. Oh, see, cheeky bit of a pop. Changes. What's going on? Sometimes Logic does some weird stuff anyway. That's a weird little bug I found. If you use the multi-out ES624, but you've only got it on stereo, weird stuff happens. I don't know. Logic is full of weird little bugs like that. Anyway, it's this weird little video sync. Oh, what's even the word? Weird little. Oh, I can't say it. What's the bloody word? Idiosyncrasies. Oh, I can't remember. Weird stuff. Yeah, Logic does some weird stuff where like there's a delay bug and whatever. But you just like I'm sure all different DAWs have their little bugs and things. You just learn as you learn a program. You kind of work around it. Right, moving on. Okay, so sort the velocity out on that one. Same as before, bus 10, see what happens. You know, oh fantastic, they're banging. A little bit of reverb. Right, now beef it up. You know, you kind of already done the work because it's like it was already parallel compressed and whacked down the bus with the other breaks. So this is when you start getting a bit creative of what you want your break to do. So I've got 2. So you know, even if I just chop these, smash them down the middle, shorten, bosh, bosh. Oi, steady. So we sort of get, you know, there's a start of a basis there where you can start messing with the beat. A quick example could be, I like the grace notes in that, but maybe the second snare, I'll use the snare from this one. And you can you just sort of alternate stuff around. So it's like take that second snare out again, use that, but keep the grace notes in from this break. Get rid of that. Find the snare you want. There's my grace notes. Alright. I'll velocity that one because naturally when you play the drums I'd kind of do a I don't know, it's hard to explain, but it's like I would play the first grace note quieter than the second one. You know, it starts to sound nice and you kind of... And that's just two. So it's already starting to sound a little bit jungly. So now I'll chop up the final two breaks and layer them up and see what happens. So I've just chopped up the third break and it's at the same point again, so I'm just gonna run it out, you know, multiple auxiliaries from the ES624, just quickly program something in just so I make sure it's sounding right. Make sure the velocity is all the way up. On loop. So this is a slightly dodgy break where it's not going to be good for doing like a full thing, but I really like that kick and I like that open hat kick. That's good. That will come in handy. Also, just a quick thing, I always set my quantize just a 16th note quick cue Bosch so it's on the right bit of the piano roll. Don't want any kind of random notes, not bang on kind of thing. Okay, so let's have a look. Take the three things, bus 10, send 1 all the way up. Cheeky bit of reverb. Just loop that round. All right, I need to actually EQ this one a bit because that hat, you can hear, it's kind of got a weird low thing going on. That snare's got some odd low stuff going on too. So, quick cheeky bit of EQ. Again, I've recently got into using the FabFilter Pro Q just because it's so much better. I used to use the channel EQ in Logic, but never use the channel EQ because if you low cut on it, it just does all this weird distortion. It's bizarre, and it's just not that precise. I just find that this one is it's like clinically precise. You can get exactly into the frequency you want, and it's just got a nicer sound. I compared the two together, and I don't know, it just sounds a lot nicer. It's a lot less harsh. And just I don't know, just makes things sound a bit cleaner and a bit nicer. And I like the analyzer in it a bit more. So let's have a look at this snare. That's the res, post EQ. There we go. layer that. I'll come to the next part. I'll have to take the 3 drums, and that's when you start having to tune your drums, so you make sure they kind of fit together and sound good in a cool way. I don't know, that's like using your ear to make sure they sound good. I'm just gonna add a bit of EQ to this kick first. Alright, classic thing, take them down. Okie dokie. So, now move this one up so it's all in line with the other 2. What did we have thus far? I might extend it along so I've got my nice 4-bar break. Just copy that over. Oh, hello. Right. Now this is where I just kind of, it essentially just becomes a bit of trial and error. But I quite like that of this break. So I'm going to try and sneak that in as the first hit rather than that kick. Let me just mute all that stuff as well. See what I've done there is I've put that down the wrong channel. Where are we? Is that one? Oh no, there's 2. Oh. There we go. Right, need to cut that back there as well because it's overlapping with that other hat. Okay, so just literally just fiddling about. It's kind of trying to figure out what works with these 3 breaks and just kind of trial and error in, really. Like, I don't know, maybe some people know exactly what they want to do straight away, whereas I just find just moving notes around, and you can get some really cool things if you start moving like certain grace notes around and certain hi-hat bits around and certain kicks, and then you start programming the pattern and, you know, going through it. Like, I'll go through a tune like this doing kind of 4 bars at a time and just program it and then do the bass line around it and do these kind of things. So I'm just going to try and kind of slot in a few of these little cheeky snares and hits and things, you know, because that's quite a nice little quick little, I like those grace notes. Let's try and sneak this snare in. I think this break needs a bit of balls. Needs beefing up a touch. There we go. okie dokie. So I still feel like it's missing something, you know. It needs like a top layer of something. Now, classic thing to draw for, just classic Amen. And the reason the Amen gets used so much is because they're such lovely washy cymbals. You high pass it and it always sounds dope. But it has been done millions of times. Now, I love a good Amen rinse out, but you know, depending if you want to kind of go for a more sort of trying to find your own sound, like, you know, you could be totally reductionist and you could argue, be like, well, you didn't sample those breaks off a vinyl yourself and you didn't hunt through the vinyl and all that. Well, whatever. It's like, I've picked it, I've chopped them up, I'm trying to make it sort of an original break loop, as it were. But you know, I like these cymbals. I'm going to see if I can get them to work. Sometimes this might not work. Sometimes it doesn't work and you just have to kind of put it down to a bad job, and then you might end up destroying for the Amen or a think break or whatever, you know, like classic ones, just to kind of, you know, there's a reason they get used a lot, because they're so good. But let's see how this break's going to turn out. See, I'm thinking more that this would be really good for a fill at the end, because that's got lovely fills and stuff. Like that. Like those, that tom and that open hat kick and stuff. And it's just a lovely, lovely snare roll. You know, that's good. That's a really good way you could end a break and stuff, and use that creatively to just make your drums interesting. But let's try and chop this puppy up. So I've chopped up the final break. I've just got to EQ it and stuff, but I'm just putting it in now, just at the end of the phrase, just to make sure, just to kind of get it in there, and it's like trialing to see if it will kind of fit with the rest of it. So quickly, listen. Oh, sounds a bit weird. Hold on, right, let's think about this. I just need to think of a sort of decent pattern so it doesn't sound bait. Ooh. Right, so you can hear that sounds like massively different at the moment. So I'm just going to have to kind of fiddle with this break a bit. And this is where you start having to mess around with like the tunings properly and sort of going in and maybe tuning individual hits and stuff. I don't know, it's all, you know, a case by case basis. But so I'm just going to see if I can get that to sound like it fits more with the original breaks that are obviously a lot tighter sounding. What's that cheeky kick? Also, I find I like doing drums like this in MIDI as well, because just making everything, like, zoom in, you can see just making the slices end where they should. Like, sometimes I'm a bit lazy and I just kind of leave stuff overlapping, and that's fine. But sometimes if you want to be really precise, some people like doing it in audio and you do lots of little fades at the end. More so, I just find that a little bit more time-consuming program, like moving bits of audio around. Like, I'll do it sometimes, but I generally just like to do it in MIDI when it's breaks like this more than audio. I just feel like I've got more control about what I'm actually programming. Right, there's a sound in there. I can't think about where it is. No. Oh, I know why. Because I haven't put it on a multi-output yet, and the ES624 is doing some weird stuff because they love it. That's that. You got to be slightly mental to do this kind of thing, I think. Right, what is that? There's a snare that's got a kick under it, and I can't figure out what it is. That you. Ooh. All right. It's not the end of the world. Doesn't matter. All right. Okay, bus 10. Parallel, bad boy. Cheeky bit of reverb. Let's go. Woo! Bring it back a bit because it's distorting. It's no good to anyone. Okay, let's see how it goes. Sounding better. I'm going to turn it down a little bit just because it is a bit louder than the rest, perceivably. Do you know what? I might get them straight out to bus 11 because these other breaks are kind of weaker than that fat fucking Uber snare one. I'm gonna just extra beef up these breaks a bit more. Here's where the fun with plugins comes in. Trying to find what's good. I generally tend to draw for the PSP Vintage Warmer because it's got a button that says fat on it, and I like that. All right, we're starting to get somewhere. Now, I think all it needs is like a cheeky tambourine of some kind, just to kind of give it a bit of, you know, bit more momentum, bit of something. And then you're pretty much there. I think that's kind of a good start for a tune, really. Like, that's a good start for a jungly break. So let me just find a good tambourine. Like, I tend to always use one that I just recorded myself. Just with a really crap mic, but it always tends to sound quite good. Percussion, my tambo, obviously. All right. Okay, empty MIDI region, my tambo. Bosh, bosh, bosh. So that's obviously not right. So we've got to find out. We're in a good tempo. it's in the right tempo rather. I always try and tighten stuff up. Again, fat, drive up a bit, resonance up a bit. I'll smash that down the same bus as the rest of the drums. 11. It's got that kind of crunchiness, so I'm going to have to EQ it a little bit. Take the bottom end off. Because I've pitched it up to get it in time as well. There's a lot, you know, there's a lot to be said for tuning drums. So I'll just kind of mess around and see if it sounds better if I pitch it down. Yeah, I think that sounds pretty good at the moment. You know, from there on in, basically, I would keep all the bits of audio of the original breaks that I've chopped up, just so you've got them, and then you can mess around with them however you want. Like, it's fun to time stretch them. I also might make, like, for example, you know, if I get up a battery, where is it? Native Instruments, battery 4, stereo. I'm pretty sure I saved a Amen kit. Has it got? Oh, it hasn't saved the audio. Oh, it does. So I've already, this is, you know, classic Blue Peter one I prepared earlier, but I think you could do a similar thing, like put those breaks in, like with this Amen, but I've assigned different buttons to do different stuff. Oh, weird, whatever. Like, what you can just do that with everything, and it's just fun chopping up breaks and like using different plugins to do it. Like, battery's really good for that kind of thing. I like the ES6 because it's just straightforward, and I like the ease of just getting it done. But then, you know, like, so if I could quickly bounce this region. This is what I would do normally. I'd be like, right, I've got that region bounced and it's still going down bus 10. Now, you could quickly open up, say, stutter edit. Right, so this thing is absolutely crazy. So I'll take that, duplicate that channel just so it's audio 22, assign that to no output, rather. The side chain of the stutter edit can go to audio 22, so you can hear that's coming up. And then pick, you know, whatever you want. Whoa, it's doing weird stuff. Whatever, I wouldn't use that necessarily. It's just a quick example of, like, you know, like being creative with how you chop out your breaks and edit them. So you've got the complete choices of, like, chopping up as audio, chopping up as MIDI, running it through sort of edit effects, things like stutter edit, and using all the things within the native sampler that you're using, whether it's battery, contact, or whatever. So the sort of options are endless, really. But yeah, that's pretty much how I would start. You know, I like this. You'd be quickly just, I would simply start by going like, right, classic, get a, you know, the default sound of an ES624 as a sub, for God's sakes. And then jungle writes itself, basically, and you just go through and program the drums, and then the hard bit is coming up with like a new tune, you know, and being creative with that. But yeah, that's how I'd go about doing a beat.